Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You're so good, Jeff. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Chose the 200 this time on account of I have to chunk down some wood. And Mo likes to go through wood with a hopped up 200. Thumpy. You probably don't mind some branches on the cement, right? Probably send a top on the rope just so we don't risk the cement getting thumped, I guess. Hey, Scott. Nice job. Nice job. Perfect. Loved it. That's exactly the sort of thing that makes you feel like you don't want a desk job right there. Last tree, same property. I'm gonna take the 2511 this time because eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It's saw enough for this tree. A lot of times people are new climbers. They'll be afraid to go higher, and they'll take too big of things. In other words, they'll send a huge top or something that there's not enough room, or so there's not a safe work position way to make the cut, or they don't have the knowledge for a big cut even, and so they'll choose the more dangerous thing because they think it's too scary to go high. And on a real good a sound tree, like, sure, it's a little funky, but it's not gonna break on you. You can go really high in this thing and they'll not do that. They'll do. I was one of them. I sent huge tops because I was afraid to go any higher. You got to get it to tip so that you don't get hit by the train that's coming past you. But if you wait too long, then it ends up out here before you get it cut off, and then it can nullify the whole purpose for the slice. The slice was to spear it straight down into there. I'm sure someone hates that cut because, well, I know that they don't even allow that. Some of the bigger companies, they're like, none of that. Because you're relying on the saw to cut fast, and you're relying on the operator to pour the juice to it when it needs it. I'll tell you a funny story about being too scared to climb high in a second here. I was real new to it. I had started my own company, and the reason I started my own company is because the little tree service that I was working for would not let me do anything. They wouldn't let me climb, and I was like, I'm tired of dragging sticks. I'm in this because I want to climb. I knew I wanted to. I knew that's what I wanted to be. I knew I'd be that guy. So I had to start my own company in order to find somebody to let me do it. I let myself do it. Get back to you in a minute. So I did. I started my own company, and I went around trying to convince people to let me climb their tree and do their work, and I didn't have hardly any experience. I didn't know what the names of each tree was or nothing. I was scared to climb very high, and I found that it was hard even to get them to let me do it, because a lot of them homeowners are a little bit savvy, right? They're like, who is this kid? They check your bonding, insurance, and everything. But when they look at your face, they're like, he's a baby. And I had a baby face. I've always looked younger than I am. See how I just give it a little flick so that I can affect the rotation just how I want. Anyway, long story short, I did this years later. I was like Mr. Jedi, right? I'd been through a lot, injury and insult, blood, sweat, and tears and all that. And I came to a job, and I was criticizing the work of the person who had been there before me. I was like, man, whoever was here before was lame. Like, I saw all these cuts that were all screwy. I could tell that whoever it was making cuts with a pole saw because they were scared to go any higher. And the lady says, well, it was you. And I was like, no, it was not me. I guarantee you I don't do that kind of work. She's all, oh, hold on a minute. And so she went in the house. She got my old business card. My old business card. It was called Top and Drop Tree Service. I just thought the name had such a nice ring to it back then. So the reason I tell you that is not to just self-deprecate, but because I want you to know that you're gonna feel that way if you're new. You're gonna feel like you don't know what you can trust. So you're like, yeah, this feels sketchy, and so I wouldn't go higher. It was an oak tree, and I was just getting mistletoe, but I didn't have enough experience to know what would hold me and stuff, and so I had gone up there, and I mean, she wanted me back. I guess I was a decent person. But by the time I came back, years had gone by. Much had changed. So much so that neither of us, well, I was going to say neither of us recognized me, but she recognized me and I didn't. See, this one it'll take a little bit more of a flip or it ain't gonna be flat. See, I had to lift up on the butt to make that work, or it wouldn't have. So yeah, I guess the summary of all that story is we all have our beginnings. You don't want to forget when you're all Mr. Proud about how good you are at something that there was a time when you weren't. And you should also remember that there's a time coming where you still might not be. So you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. I mean, that was just one instance where I was afraid to climb higher, and the consequences weren't like that scary because it was just mistletoe removal and it was just me climbing around in a tree. But you can imagine the other stuff I got into where it was me cutting down a tree and I was afraid to go higher. And I remember this one time I cut down, I topped out a monster pine. I was just absolutely exhilarated the whole time I was in the thing, and I sent this huge top out because I was afraid to go any higher, and it went out. I mean, think big, like the whole top was bigger than this whole tree was, and it goes out like this and goes down like this, and then it endos and then flies, the butt flies toward the house. And it missed the guy's deck. Like the butt, like the big honking authority in every cell. Whop! Like that, and it missed the guy's deck by seriously like 3/4 of an inch maybe. I remember my dad was there because he was working with me. And of course neither of us really knew what we were doing, so he probably was happy I wasn't climbing higher either, but he was like, that was really close. And I knew that if I was gonna be a pro, I was gonna have to get better control of these tree parts. I did. Praise the Lord. I found my way so many times where grace was sufficient. Monkey,